Go Godzilla! So, with the release of Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire, there are now a total of 5 movies in the MonsterVerse, and as a huge kaiju fan and someone who is really enjoying these movies, I figured it would be a great time for me to rank all 5 of those from my least favorite to my favorite, and obviously this is referring to only the current American MonsterVerse done by Warner Bros. And Legendary, so any stuff before that does not count, just starting with Godzilla 2014 through Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire. And also, I'm just going to preface this by saying, first of all, for every ranking video, I'm going to say this is just my opinion. This is my personal feelings on these movies and how I rank them based on my preferences. If you have a different opinion, that's fine. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of different rankings of these 5 movies. And the other thing is I enjoy all 5 of them. I think all 5 of these movies are fun in their own way. I just think some are more fun or better paced or better done than others, which I will get into. So, with all that out of the way, number 5 is going to be Godzilla King of the Monsters. This one is the most frustrating movie on this list to me because overall, I do enjoy it. I do give it a positive review because the monster stuff is incredible. The visuals are gorgeous. There are some incredible shots in this movie. While I was watching it at home, I had to pause to take pictures of some of the coolest shots in the movie, and there are a lot of them. Lots of cool shots with Godzilla and Ghidorah, and Mothra is just gorgeous in this one. The fights are incredible, and the third act is great, except for one thing, which I will get to. So everything they did with the actual monsters in this movie was amazing. They looked amazing. The fights were amazing. Unfortunately, this is very much a tale of 2 movies for me because the other half of the story, which is the human side, I thought was just terrible. And every time they were not focusing on the monsters and put the focus on the humans and their melodrama and bad dialogue and bad one-liners and tons of exposition and weird character decisions and motivations. Every time they did any of that stuff, it just completely lost me, and I would tune out when I was rewatching the movie. So it's very much 2 sides of a coin here. One is incredible, the monster stuff, and I said in my Letterboxd review, kind of as a joke, but also kind of serious, I gave that a 12 out of 10, and I gave the human stuff a 0 out of 10, which leads to an average of 6. So I do think the good outweighs the bad, but even in the third act, you keep cutting back to the humans when we're supposed to be focusing on the monster fights, which was my one frustration with the third act that I was alluding to before. So great stuff in there, and honestly, if I'm going to watch this movie again, I'm only going to watch the monster fights and skip all the human stuff because I just can't take it. And for that reason, it is at number 5. Number 4 is going to be Godzilla 2014. This one surprised me a little bit. I liked it a lot more than I expected. I mean, people have been shitting on this movie for years, talking about how it's boring, how the human characters suck, and how Godzilla doesn't show up until the last 10 minutes. I don't even understand some of those criticisms. Sure, the human characters are not great. I think Aaron Taylor-Johnson is a really good actor, but his character in this movie is just not very well written. He's a very stock main character, and I just did not buy his fake American accent at all. Minor spoiler here, but I feel like all of you probably know this by now. They killed off Bryan Cranston too early. They should have left him in there. He was the most interesting character in the movie. And I wish we got a little bit more of Elizabeth Olsen as well because she was really good, but was kind of sidelined. I wish she was more involved in the stuff that was going on in the movie. So the human element was, I wouldn't say it's as bad as King of the Monsters because the movie felt better paced to me. It was constantly moving. I never thought it was boring, which is a common criticism. I thought it was pretty entertaining all the way through, and I liked the Nutos. I thought they were cool. I think I said that right. Yeah. And then Godzilla, he shows up throughout the movie. You get hints and teases of him, and you even see his whole face and body halfway through the movie. So it's I don't really understand that complaint. They're building up to him, and you get him in chunks throughout the movie, and then you get the full badass Godzilla at the end and some really cool moments in there. So I really dug this one. I thought it had a really good atmosphere. I thought that Gareth Edwards' direction was great, which direction is something that he, as far as like the shots and stuff, something that he excels at. Not great at character work, which definitely does show in this movie, but I really did dig this one overall. And once Godzilla fully comes into play in the third act, it felt earned to me, that build up, and it absolutely delivered on expectations. Number 3 is going to be Godzilla vs. Kong. I just have an absolute blast with this movie. I just rewatched it a couple days ago in preparation for Godzilla and Kong, the New Empire, as well as for this video. And it is goofy, for sure. It is ridiculous. It still suffers from some of the problems with the human characters that King of the Monsters does, but not nearly to the same extent, because it puts the monsters at the forefront for this one. I mean, you get the full Godzilla and the full Kong in this movie, and they look amazing, and their fights are just so awesome and badass. The ending is incredible and will make you pump a fist if you're into this stuff. Some of the human side quests I actually thought were okay. I mean, Brian Tyree Henry is just so funny and charming that he makes that stuff kind of bearable, honestly. If it was someone else, I probably would have disliked that side quest quite a bit more, but he makes it watchable. And Rebecca Hall is a decent character, decent enough. I really like the stuff with the little deaf girl. I think she's a cool inclusion. So the movie it's not Godzilla -1. It's not Citizen Kane. It is a Taco Bell movie, as Sean Chandler would call it. It is cinematic fast food, something to shove popcorn in your face. It is a ton of fun that every single time that I watch it, I enjoy from start to finish. Plus, they actually got it right and had my guy, Godzilla, win. So, of course, they team up in the end to take on Mechagodzilla, which we all saw coming, but still, just an awesome movie that is endlessly rewatchable, despite how ridiculous it is. That just doesn't really bother me when it comes to this kind of stuff. Number 2 is going to be Kong Skull Island, and as a Godzilla simp, as much more of a Godzilla fan, I was surprised at how much I like this movie, and the main reason for that is that not only do they get really good actors in this movie. I mean, this cast is absolutely stacked. I mean, you got Samuel Jackson, Brie Larson, Tom Hiddleston, John C. Reilly makes a surprise appearance. I didn't know he was going to be in it. Corey Hawkins, John Goodman. I mean, it is a stacked cast, and they actually do stuff with those characters. They're somewhat memorable, somewhat interesting, especially Hiddleston and Larson, and then Samuel Jackson is kind of the human villain of the movie. So unlike a lot of these other movies in this franchise where they get these really good actors but don't find anything interesting to do with them, in Skull Island, they do find interesting stuff to do with the characters, and they are somewhat well written. Combine that with the fact that we have some gorgeous visuals, a cool soundtrack, and Kong just looks amazing in this movie, and this is the biggest that he's ever been. And Skull Island is just a cool place in general. It's a really cool setting, and it looks amazing. So enjoyed this one a lot more than I expected, and this is another one that I just watched for the first time fairly recently. I heard that people enjoyed it, but, the reviews were mixed, and I just had a ton of fun with it, with a good cast and the great visuals and soundtrack. It's just a really, really entertaining movie. Again, it's not anything super deep, but very fun, very rewatchable. Kong Skull Island is number 2. Number 1, and you might accuse me of having recency bias. Maybe. I generally don't fall into that. I don't fall for that usually, so I think this is for real. And that's Godzilla and Kong the New Empire. I enjoyed the shit out of this movie even more than I expected. I thought it was going to be a fun, entertaining popcorn movie, and I got even more than that. I mean, this one does a really good job of expanding the lore and the world of Hollow Earth. They did some really cool stuff with that, so it's kind of like part adventure movie, and the visuals are gorgeous. Once again, Wingard is really good at this stuff. There are some really, really cool shots in there. There are some big surprises and fist pump moments. I was grinning from ear to ear the entire time and jumping out of my seat and getting excited. I don't remember being like this in a theater like since Avengers Endgame. It was just a really cool experience with all these other people in the theater with me. The human characters in this are actually pretty good. I mean, they're not super complex or anything like that, but I like the stuff they did again in this one with the little deaf girl. I think she's a really good addition to this franchise, and they kind of, expanded on like her background and her people and stuff, which I thought was really cool. Dan Stevens and Brian Tyree Henry are just so awesome in this movie. They steal the show for me. Their interactions are so great, and you can tell that they were having an absolute blast filming this one. Brian Tyree Henry is just so damn funny. He elevates basically everything that he's in, as does Dan Stevens. So you put those two together, just absolute magic. Loved those guys. And of course, the fights are incredible. The third act is just pure awesomeness from start to finish. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. Just so damn entertaining. The monsters look amazing once again, and they get some actual development. Kong is the main character of this one for sure. He gets a ton of screen time. But don't worry, my boy Godzilla, and for all you Godzilla fans out there, he gets plenty of screen time as well. He gets his time to shine. I mean, not nearly as much screen time as Kong does, but he has his moments, and he is definitely awesome in this movie as well. And the monsters, like, there are several scenes that just go on with just the monsters, not even fighting, but just like you can see the expressions on their face and you can tell what they're thinking without them having to say anything. And then it's just really cool. They did such a good job with that. I think that Scar King is an awesome villain, just totally like vindictive, evil dictator type, and I thought they accomplished that really well with that character. So this one totally worked for me from start to finish and exceeded my expectations. So Godzilla and Kong, the New Empire, comes in at number 1. So there you have it, guys. There's my ranking of all 5 of the current MonsterVerse movies in the current MonsterVerse, the American MonsterVerse. So what is your ranking of those 5 movies? Drop a comment below and let's start a conversation. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. Likes are super important for helping me grow my channel and push my videos out to more people. If you want to see more of this kind of stuff, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified when I post a video. Stay tuned. I got some more stuff coming. I will see you soon.